everyone tuned in. This is the Men, Church, Stuff podcast. It's the show where brothers-in-law DJ Culp and Brad Coleman talk about what it's like being Christian men in today's society. Having spent our entire lives immersed in church culture, we want to share our experiences with other men who are willing to listen. We'll talk life stuff, church stuff, man stuff, and, well, stuff. Let's get to it. Welcome, podcast land listeners everywhere. This is the Men Church Stuff podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, DJ Culp. As always, I'm here with my brother-in-law, Brad Coleman.
Howdy, y'all.
Today,
welcome to Southern humidity.
You know, it's not that bad here. I'm gonna be honest. The Southern summer actually, it's been really moderate. I've been very grateful. Because in the last probably
high 90s.
Years, I mean, it's high 90s, yeah.
High 90s, 61% humidity.
Yes, I know. But on the whole spectrum, our summer here in Tennessee has actually been very moderate. So
I've had worse.
Do what?
I've had worse.
Yeah, I have had worse. And I'm glad that we don't have that worse. So today, we're going to be talking about something that if you have never experienced disagreements with anyone, would you please run for president? Actually, maybe don't run for president, because then you'll have to break your record. You know, so maybe
you're a carrot.
Yeah, you're a carrot.
You're a carrot. You never had to disagree with anyone. You're a carrot.
So, yeah. Specifically, though, I really wanted to look at spouse disagreements. Now, for the listeners here, trust me when I say that the origin of this topic is not because my wife and I just had a fight and I want to talk about it. That's not why this is what we're talking about.
We'll tell you how I'm right.
That's right. Yeah, I'm using this as my platform.
She's not on here.
She's not. Yeah. And for anybody that doesn't know, this episode right here is the reason I wanted to start the podcast. I've been waiting for this one because now I'm right. Yeah, no. That's not what this is about. But Brad, how long have you and Tabitha been married?
So 18 years.
18. Dang,
yeah.
Man.
So
wow.
March of next year will make 19. So
yeah,
between 18 and 19 technically.
All right, so 18 years. Sharon and I have been married for 13 years. And yeah, I know. Amateurs. We're what is it? A fifth. We're 20% behind you.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that time, I'm sure that you've had your share of arguments with Tabitha, and I've had my share of arguments with Shara.
But I met your sister.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm actually glad I don't have to argue with her anymore. I was happy to pass her off to you. but before we really get going on the podcast, Brad, I thought of this question before the podcast ever began. I was like, I've got to ask this question at some point. So I'm glad here on show number 10, I will be asking the question, what is the dumbest argument you've ever had with your wife?
Oh, goodness.
You're not allowed to say all of them.
No, I have to think. I'm gonna have to think because.
While you think, I'll open this up. A game of rummy for us during our very first year of marriage. Apparently other people play with different rules, and other people play with rules that are wrong. Yeah. And Shara and I, we started, like, we decided, you know, it'd be really fun. We'll sit down again. We're newlyweds. We'll sit down. We'll have a fun game of rummy. Little did we know that it was not a fun game of rummy. As a matter of fact, this is true. And when my wife hears this, she's going to look at me and she's going to nod, she's going to laugh, whatever. We didn't play rummy after this night for like a year and a half. We deliberately thought this game is off limits. Right. So
Very
the
wise.
way
That's wisdom.
yeah, right.
Give
yeah, we're opening
cool down.
because of things that matter. So the way that my family scored and my family picked up cards and how you discarded was in fact completely and utterly different than the way her family did. And both of us thought we were both right. I still think I'm right to this day, but
I'll speak for Shara. Shara still thinks she's right too. As a representative for Shara in this conversation, she believes she's still right.
No, you have to be impartial. You can't be an advocate, Brad. No, we're not allowing that. That's off limits.
Strike that from the record. All right, so I got it, and I was working for UPS before we had kids, so I'm getting home at like 6:30 in the morning. So as I'm coming home to go to bed for a few hours, take a nap before I go to class.
Oh yeah, right.
Tabby's getting up, so so I get home and I start to get in bed, and she wakes up and she looks at me with just this look of like as angry as I've ever seen her.
Like disdain.
Yeah, I mean, like she's gonna kill me.
There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
And this is what she said. Who is she?
Oh,
who is who?
Oh, dang. Oh,
who is who? Who is she? And I'm starting to get upset. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are we talking about here? Who's the woman you cheated on me with? And now I'm mad.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, how dare you, for one, accuse me of something? There is no other woman. You are the only woman for me, haven't you? And then she starts, I can see the wheels turn in her head because, she just woke up.
Oh, she no.
Like, I was having a dream that you were cheating on me. So here's my thing, like, okay, yeah. I get it. It happens. Dreams are realistic. Yeah. So for me, the logical thing is what? Now you calm down. You realize I had a dream. No, she was mad at me for the rest of the day. And that's where I was struggling. I'm like, yeah, right. I was like, look, we both acknowledged that this didn't happen at all.
Right.
And so it's still emotional for me. And that was awesome. For me, that was probably, from my side, that was one of the the dumbest, because I'm like, and if you know me, like, I'm all about, like, I was taught, if you screw up, you stand up and you take the blame for it.
Yep. Own it.
Like, so if I've messed up, I try to be the guy that goes, look, I screwed up. Sorry, let's work through this.
Yeah.
But when I haven't done it, like even remotely anything, like I just worked all night, I'm going to school full time, I am tired, I want to go to bed, and you're mad at me. And then I talk to you later and you're still mad at me.
You're still mad at me.
And like and your sister, she even acknowledges, like, I know I shouldn't be mad, but I am. And I'm like, okay, well, so that's one of the things that we kind of laugh about now is and she really does a lot better, I think, at not staying mad at some of those things. I mean, even if I've done something really dumb and she kind of has a right to be kind of mad, she kind of doesn't stay mad. But I used to laugh and say, like, she stays mad for 3 days. Like, I'm dynamite, she's napalm, right? Like, I get mad, I get real loud, boom, and it's over. I'm good. I've said my piece. And she just slow burns, and it's a destructive slow burn for days.
And it's a painful slow burn.
Don't get on her bad side, like, no.
So interesting that you say that was your dumbest argument. Shara, she's had a couple of those those kind of dreams as well. And she'll wake up upset at me, but like she quickly like realizes, oh wow, that was a dream.
Yeah.
And I could tell that there was this one time that it did actually really annoy her, because like I have always still, I mean, really wanted to perform. I love, like, you know, as I said a couple episodes ago, I love life on the road. It's a lot of fun traveling, seeing a lot of people, playing music in a lot of venues. It's really fun. So Shara had this dream that that I was with this band, and there was this blonde singer that was all over me. There was like pictures on Facebook and everything. And this could be a conversation for another day, for another episode. But I don't, like, I'm an idiot. I don't know when girls hit on me. God didn't connect that wire for me, as you mentioned. You know, that wire that, like, I think it's not that it's even connected. It doesn't exist. There's not one in there. So she clearly knows this about me. So like she had this dream where there's Facebook pictures and she's all up on me and I'm just smiling like, hey, we're having a great old time. And she woke up and I could tell that it kind of annoyed her for a little bit, but she laughed about it. So as I mentioned, you know, I'm really glad that you know, I was able to pass off Tabitha to you, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, and I'm sure if Tabby was here, she would be able to tell you like just a buku of times where I have something dumb or stupid, and I've acknowledged it later. I mean,
yeah,
and it's caused
she's
some
not.
kind of an argument. But
Yeah,
she's not here.
But she's not.
And, you know, and conveniently, I can't think of any of those times right now.
I know. It's really hard for me to sit back. You know, when have I wronged my wife? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
we're just going to move on, though.
Husband. Yeah.
So
the trophy she won. What contest in Hades were you entering?
Yeah, right. I've always, like, not always, but at some point, I think it was in college, I stumbled across this, that, like, you know, the joke is that men are always wrong, women are always right. And like, if that's actually true, then where do we put the scenario where a man tells a woman, you're right? Because men are always wrong, then that means the woman's wrong. Like, that's my favorite rebuttal to that one.
Dangerous territory. I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah.
Really,
so Brad, I did a really, really quick Google search here. Yeah. And I'll even tell you, it was spouse disagreeing statistics, and how common is disagreeing in a healthy relationship? Depending, and this comes from Plekan Law, Plekan law.com. We thank you very much for the statistics that you give us in 5 seconds time. Yeah, right. Yeah. Depending on their temperaments and personalities, some healthy couples argue every day. Others may only have disagreements once in a while or only rarely. The crucial thing to remember is that there is no quote unquote normal when it comes to how often married couples fight. What do you think?
So I would agree with that. Like, it's different. Like, I know some people that, one, their disagreements, they would say, oh, we never fight, because we just have, like, they have disagreements. And and some of these people, they're very low key every time I've seen them. So like, maybe we would even look at it and go, wait, did you guys just disagree? Was that?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Did you have an argument?
Did we just bear witness to that? Yeah.
I've always said, like, I'm very passionate person, and so like I'm very stubborn, very passionate, and so I can get very stuck on something. I can get, you know, loud. I always said I had to marry somebody like your sister, right? And I think, you know, your sister is the one that God made for me. I believe that. But I needed someone who would not be crushed by that passion, but who would kind of strike back. And again, we're not talking about fist fights. I've never hit my wife, and I'm not even talking about abusive speech. I'm just talking about when I'm like, no, this is the way. And she'll be like, really?
I
don't think so.
I can tell you that you found the right woman.
Yeah, I found
my sister. I did. My sister is that. So, yes.
So here's the thing that I think is important.
Okay.
And it's one of the things that I have not mastered. Let me just say that. I've not mastered by any sense of the word, but I think Tabby and I do it both a lot better, which is it's not the disagreements that you have. It's not even how many disagreements you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you go through those disagreements and how then you resolve those disagreements.
That's right. Yeah.
And so if you're going to, and let's just call it fight, because if you're going to have a fight with your wife,
Yeah.
One, fight fair and fight with
Mm-hmm.
the end in mind. And that's what I
Yeah.
tell people. Matter of fact, I was having this conversation with my best friend Dusty just like yesterday.
Okay.
I said one of the things I've learned is that if Tabby and I are having a disagreement, we're having a fight, and I win and she loses, I've lost. If she wins and I lose, she's lost
Yeah.
because
Right.
we're one.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when we
That's
look at
exactly
it
right.
as I got to win and you lose, then either way, you both lose. It's a
Yeah.
lose-lose scenario. It doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter
That's
how
right.
right you are, how wrong they are, or vice versa. So we have to look at how do we resolve this.
Yeah.
Now, and if we have to just agree to disagree on things, because guess what? We're two different people. Now, there's
Mm-hmm.
some major things that I think you got to just continue to just work through and resolve because you can't come to that conclusion.
Right.
But there's things like, I think that pickles are disgusting. My wife thinks they're amazing. She'll
Yeah.
drink
Yeah. You're wrong.
she'll drink pickle juice. I think that's one of the worst things ever. Like she found out that if you're getting cramps, that pickle juice is one of the best things for it. I'm like, I'll just die.
I'm just going to cramp.
So
Yeah.
we have
That's
that
fine.
disagreement. I mean, that's a hard line. Boom. We're not going to agree on that.
Yeah. Right.
Like unless God changes my taste buds,
It's
like
probably not going to
and
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
reflects that. We're never going to have that. And even then that becomes a fun little thing.
Yeah. Sure.
Sometimes that disagreement is, well, I mean, shoot, DJ, here, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right?
Okay.
You're a Cubs fan,
Oh,
and your
yes.
wife is a St. Louis Cardinals fan,
Oh, yeah. I
and
live
like
with
you're
that.
both
Yeah.
pretty hardcore, like
There's a,
low. I mean,
there's
at
a,
least
yes.
there's a pretty serious level of fandom here.
Yep.
So how does how do you how do you go with something like
Well,
that? People are like,
up
you can't.
until yeah, right. Up until 2016, what I would say is here's the way that we deal with it. The Cardinals are good and the Cubs suck. That's how it works. Like doesn't mean that I don't like the Cubs.
I love the
Just
Cubs, but yeah. So
yeah,
she
I
was
love
probably
the
good.
Cubs.
Like, okay,
Yeah. And right now she's actually having to deal with that. Like the Cardinals, man, they're dragging tail. Like it's pretty awesome. But no, I mean there's a hard line for sure.
yeah,
Uh and spouse that like I think like with to your point, Brad, about having the end in mind, one of the things that and I couldn't tell you when I really started to figure this out. It was natural, organic. It was, I don't know how to do this, and I'm fighting for myself and not for both of us. When you first get married, I think everybody goes through that.
yeah.
But when you say like have the end in mind, I think I said this. I think it was this like last week's episode that I mentioned that Cher tells me all the time, like to pick my battles.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how to do that with my children. I know how to do that with her.
I was like, yeah.
I'm still not learning that one with Cher. I figured that one out. But like knowing what is worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And understanding that if what it is that I'm fighting for is more than my marriage, then it is not worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Like fighting for my marriage is the most important. Now, I think where some confusion may come in to play, is if we're talking to a guy or if we're talking to a man, or if we're talking to a woman, with that in mind. And the reason I say that is like, and this may be, I assume this is widely known, that guys are experts at compartmentalizing, not just emotionally, but intellectually as well, and I can Venn diagram things if I want. I can also like take all the Venn diagrams out and just look at everything by themselves. Women have a lot more trouble doing that.
Well,
On the
typically,
flip
yeah.
on the
Yeah.
flip side, though, like I think it's actually a cool thing. It's different. I don't get it, but how women's emotions, like a single emotion, can
Yeah.
sort of interweave itself through a bunch of other things. So whenever I say, like, how do you fight for your marriage and still fight for things that are passionate? I think
Mhm.
that's where being knowing what your end goal is about. Um, and to that point, I want to, like, just a scripture passage here comes from, like, Proverbs 17. I didn't know this, but Proverbs 17 is a chapter that has, like, um quite a few Bible verses in it that deal with conflict in some capacity.
Mm.
But straight up, verse 14 right here says, to start a conflict is to release a flood, stop the dispute before it breaks out.
You
And
ever try to stop a flood?
I have not tried to stop a
A
flood.
lot easier to stop it before it starts.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, but well, I take that back. Not an actual flood, but I have definitely made my wife mad on purpose,
Yeah.
and then watched how long it took to get her back to normal. Um, but
You won't poke that hornet's nest too much.
yeah, no, you won't. No. And it's something interesting, Brad, that you said that, a relationship dynamic between you and Tabitha is that you needed somebody. God knew that you needed somebody that would kind of, not, I'm not going to say lash back, but that would throw it back to you and
Yeah.
make you kind of argue on your own playing ground. So this is actually something that um, I'm very grateful for. Shara is almost like an opposite personality as Tabitha. I mean, you've been around her enough.
Yeah.
She's a processor, and like, when we first got married, I would, like, I'm a person that I've got if we're talking about something that we disagree about, or something that we're, like, man, maybe a difficult decision or something, I need to talk about it. I'm a person that I learn through dialogue. She at the beginning of our marriage, and still quite a bit today, but has adapted to this. Um, and me as well, but she is a person that needs to hear things and then just process.
Yeah.
Like, she zips up, she closes, I'm not gonna say she shuts down, but under duress she will.
Yeah.
Under duress she'll shut down. And so I had to learn how, because coming from, first of all, my parents' household, and then
Yeah.
coming from the relationship with my sister, man, we're vocal.
Yeah.
Like, and whoever has the highest voice wins. Like,
Yeah.
like, and so I had to learn kind of how to harness that. But at the same time, I think something like a benefit of my personality is that Shara has learned how to become a little bit more. I don't want to use the word aggressive, because I think there's a negative connotation to it,
Mm.
but a little bit more
So let's talk about the word.
assertive. How's that?
Let me talk about the word gentle. All right, because the
Yeah.
biblical gentle.
Okay.
Biblical gentle is not how you hold a butterfly, unless you're holding a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things I think
Right.
that we miss when it talks about a gentle spirit and being gentle, because gentle in the Bible means the appropriate amount of force, the appropriate amount of whatever
Okay.
necessary. So if you're holding
Yeah.
a butterfly, that's very little.
Right.
If you're holding a 130-pound dog on a leash who's trying to get away,
I mean,
that's
gentle is,
very
yeah.
different. Gentle is
Yeah.
still, you're
It's
being
a
gentle,
relative.
but there's
Yeah.
it is, it's relative to the situation.
Yeah.
So how you're dealing with the situation is the appropriate amount of force, appropriate amount of power, whatever. And so that's what you're saying, is that Shara has learned to be gentle,
Yes.
but properly gentle.
Yeah. And I have learned to
And
be gentle,
right.
like, again, with Tabitha,
Mm.
gentle. And this is one of this is one of the examples that I love to tell people. When Sharon and I first got married, and I mean, you were around, you were around us when we got married. You guys have been married longer than us. That when we would hang out together at Thanksgiving and Christmas time, I mean, Tabitha and I are at each other's throats. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. All we do is heckle each other.
Yeah.
Shara and her brother Adam, they didn't have the same relationship. I mean, Shara was 10 years older than Adam. And so she couldn't believe how Tabitha and I were talking to each other. And I'm like, what are you talking
Like,
about? This is love,
like,
this
wow, you
is
guys hate each other.
no,
Yeah.
no, this is our love language.
Yeah.
um, but
You stupid head.
yeah, no, she's just a moron, like.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've learned I had to learn, and through God's grace, in all honesty, I had to learn how to be gentle on her level of gentle. But in the same time, as I mentioned, for her, and as you were saying, Brad, she's learned how to quote unquote be gentle on, like, when arguing with me, because not saying anything, and again shutting down, even if it was time for processing,
Yeah.
wasn't beneficial to how I needed to approach the situation too. But now that brings us to, I think that brings us to a really good thing that I'd like to tease out here. So Paul says, "Be angry and do not sin."
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it's the same passage or if it's a different passage in Scripture where Scripture says, "Don't let the sun go down on your wrath.
Okay.
Don't let
Yeah.
the sun go down on your anger."
Mm-hmm.
And I can assure you that there have been a very minimal amount of times, but
Mm-hmm.
still, nonetheless, there have been times where the sun has gone down on our anger.
Yeah.
But having said that, one of the things that I think that has been a huge help in our relationship. I think, like, this is going to sound like I'm being braggadocious, but I don't mean to be. This is just something that's part of my character. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharon would attest to this. For the most part, it is actually really easy, and I almost feel like it's obligatory for me to forgive people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I understand full well that there are people that don't have that. I get that, and I'm not trying to rub that in anybody's face. Having said that, I hate it. I like, Brad, it tears me up inside, turns my inside upside down when the sun goes down and we're both angry, or if Shara and I are mad at each other for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the only way to resolve that, even if quote unquote I am right, no, that right there goes out the window, because there's sort of a tear in our relationship that I have to mend. I mean, we mentioned this, talking about this in the husbanding episode, where husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, gave himself up for
Right.
her. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that means that he forgave the church when the church was mad at him. Hey, you know what? I almost think like that this is a husband role,
Mm-hmm.
that even in the midst of whatever disagreement this is, I've got to be the one to correct it. It doesn't mean that the issue is resolved, but I've got to make sure that my wife knows,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that we are in this,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to rectify this situation, even if that means that we just simply have enough clarity of mind to be able to talk it out.
Yeah. So, there's so much there. Good stuff. There's so much there. I'm like, okay, like, which one?
Right. Yeah.
Which piece do I pick? Well, let's look at what God says, because you're talking about anger, right? Be
Yeah.
angry and do not sin.
Yeah.
So that tells us there is righteous anger. Now,
Yeah.
I will say that I've heard the argument that that asks the question: are we as men capable of righteous anger? I don't think we're capable of maintained righteous anger.
No. Right. Yeah.
Um, so I think God's anger is not emotionally driven, and I think I said that before, maybe in the last episode. Ours tends to get emotionally driven.
Yeah.
What does anger do in us typically? It sets off fight or flight, which
Yeah.
is now
Yeah.
like they go, oh, well, it's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and I think there's even one other. And so it's our response
Yeah.
to something that's outside, right? A statement or whatever.
Yeah.
So with our anger, we have to first deal with what's going on inside of us,
Right.
because the reality is, once so I don't know, someone who's more scientific than me, more studied and like the brain and how it works could maybe say, oh yeah, this is right or this is wrong. But this is what I've been told. Okay. So I was told that the brain, the part of the brain that kind of hits anger with the fight or flight, actually kind of lifts off the rest of the brain when you're angry. It kind of like has that temporary control where it's now in control.
Okay.
And part of that is God's design with fight or flight, right? So, hey, there's a bear. I don't need to be thinking about all, did I get the groceries? I need to be dealing with, there's a bear.
Yeah.
And so, and that's developed early on. Like I think it stops development somewhere around 6 years old.
Yeah, you're talking about windows of opportunity-ish, like kind of, yeah.
Right. So which is why, I mean, it's not to say that things can't change. God's awesome. He helps us all change, deal with our anger. But again, the tendencies, sometimes it's us understanding our tendencies that we built in. Yeah. And so when that lifts off, right, then we either have to take back control with the rest of our brain, right, and go, hey, look, this is not a bear situation. This is I'm having a conversation with my wife.
Yeah.
And some people are going like, well, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, I met my wife. And I was like, look. But, this is not an attack. This is not like a life-threatening thing. So I don't need to be in fight or flight in this situation.
Right. Yeah.
But I've got to do things, breathing, mental things or whatever to get control. One of the biggest things is if you can realize that's going on, then you can start to shut that down.
Yeah, sure.
But so the acknowledgement, but so that anger, what does God say? He says, be quick to speak.
Listen.
No, right. To listen.
Yeah. Be quick to listen.
Quick to listen, be slow to speak, slow to wrath or slow to anger. Yeah. So he says, you may have a reason to be angry, but you need to control that. Yeah. Seek, I like the way that it was put, I think, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, seek first to understand before you seek to be understood.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And I think, boom, I think that's part of what God is saying right there in James when he says, listen.
Yep.
And slow down your anger and slow down your response. Like, hey, how about you just listen to what's being said instead of being, take the time here, been guilty of this, still get guilty of this, ongoing trying to fix this. And I think with conversations with my wife, with anybody, with disagreements, it plays, right? When they're talking, am I listening or am I constructing what I'm going to say?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Are you actually trying to figure out ways to interweave how you can destroy them? Yeah. Dude, I mean, well put, because it's so easy in the moment of anger and by anger, this is kind of related and somewhat not related to last week's episode when you and I were talking about like parental anger, but the anger could be like lashing out. It could be this supremely heated conversation. It could also simply be like this underlying desire to simply jab, to try to gain essentially like dominion or dominance over your spouse. And like, I mean, dude, that's a low blow. Like,
what does Yoda say? Right? Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Thank you, Yoda. That's right.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in there.
And I also think, Brad, that the context of this conversation kind of occurred to me just two or 3 minutes ago where you were talking. I think the context of our conversation may or even may not. I would like to think even better yet may not change, because like righteous anger, I think in the way that it's worded is when like I'm trying to figure out how to word it. It's like almost like a deliberate sin has affected. Rummy isn't sin. Rummy doesn't. It's who cares about rummy? Right. It's a stupid game. It's a fun game.
DJ, now you're hitting on it, because now you're getting into personal opinions.
Yeah.
You're getting into the personal way that we understand and see the world. We're getting into things, traditions and stuff that I love.
Right.
And sometimes we make those more than they should be.
Absolutely.
And here's one of the big things for me, and maybe this is evident to so many other people, but I don't think so because I've met a lot of people. Um, but I think it took me a really long time as a human being and as a husband to acknowledge that the way that I think and process,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that my wife doesn't think and process that way, but when we're having disagreements, when we're having discussions, I talk to her and I
Yeah.
receive her words as if we're the same system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would I mean if I was saying that? Instead of thinking, I know my wife, what
Right.
does she mean? Because I'm not the one saying that. And one of the best things, I think, one of the best questions in my marriage that I've learned to ask my wife, and I've learned to kind of look at, I'll say something and I'll see her reaction. And when her reaction doesn't match what I'm expecting it to be, normally I ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
What did you just hear me say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of the arguments over the years and a lot of the fights I'm finding out, I've found out, have come from not true conflict.
Right.
Not truly something that me and her see completely differently and we're at odds about,
Right.
but misunderstandings, misinterpretations on both sides.
Yeah.
On both sides. So what did you hear me say? And then she will repeat to me in her own words what I just said.
Right.
And then I can
Yeah.
hear, and there's a lot of times when I go, I can see where you heard that.
Yep.
But I didn't mean that at all.
Right.
I wasn't saying that at all.
I can't imagine, Brad, I'm serious. I cannot imagine speaking to a couple that doesn't have experience with that.
Mm-hmm.
In the world of educational pedagogy, we actually, I'm getting nerdy here.
It was always one of my favorite words, just
sound
wise, pedagogy.
Yeah, it's got a great cadence to it. But in the world of educational pedagogy, what you are discussing shows itself in beginning to get teachers to think about not how to teach, but like a technique of how to get how to be an effective teacher is what is called intention versus function. And I think that, like, in my experience, in my experience anyways, with spousal disagreements, and not just like with my wife, seeing my parents argue, seeing every now and then seeing you and Tabitha argue, or hearing about spouse arguments or whatever, like all of those data points. I think one of the biggest, one of the most ignored, I'll put it that way, one of the most ignored points of focus is on what you were saying, is on the intention of what somebody is saying. Like, if I'm going to try to cut my wife down, and I mean, I have said stupid stuff to my wife before, and her to me. I mean, we're sinners, at like we are Christ following, doing what we can, sinners. But the idea is
willing, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah, right. But there is this like sentence constructor in my brain that not only thinks about the words that I'm about to say, but I analyze how they make me feel. And I remember early on in our marriage, I would say things more flippantly than I do now. And, listeners, that is sort of comical because, that's a very stereotypical, like, the husband has figured out how to speak to his wife. But at the same time, I have also realized that there are times when my wife does it, and I don't know, like, I seriously don't think that she thought about it as much as I did. And in those moments, I begin to realize, if I'm the one that's formulating that sentence, I begin to think, wait a minute, okay, what's the intent of what I want to say? Like, seriously, what good is going to come of this? All it's going to do is stir the pot.
Yeah.
And now we're both mad just for the sake of being mad.
Yeah. And nobody wins.
And nobody
Nobody
wins.
wins.
No. And like,
you know what? The kids don't even win.
No, they don't. No,
the
you're
dogs
exactly
don't even win.
No,
because the dog will do something while that's going on, and you'll lash out at the dog in a way that the dog doesn't deserve, and that you normally wouldn't do.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you're mad about like something stupid.
Yep.
But I love it, the intention, and I think that's one of the biggest things too is learning too how your spouse is receiving things, how they tend to receive things.
Right.
So they need to learn that about themselves, but you need to learn that about them too. Because here's one of the things with your sister that I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
She tends to become defensive very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she does.
and so some of that speaks to her insecurities, and we've all got insecurities. We're people,
sure,
with a weak flesh. So whether we want to admit it or not, most of us are full of insecurities.
Absolutely.
And the ones that aren't, sometimes I worry about.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to work on those.
Yeah, right.
In a healthy manner. One of I think the best things that I say to your sister, and it's probably in the last 3 or 4 years that I've learned to say this, is to stop in the middle of whatever and look at her and go, I'm not attacking you. I'm not attacking you. And I remember one conversation in particular where I said, babe, is that who I am? Am I somebody who is constantly trying to tear you or other people down, constantly trying to attack those things? Is that my character?
Right.
If it is, you need to say yes, and I need to work on that. But
right.
but it's not who I am. And so, sometimes she needs that reminder, and sometimes it's just simple as that. Now, I need to watch. You're talking about Proverbs. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger."
Yep.
So the way that I say I'm not attacking you, is important. I can say it, and I can say it firmly. I can say it very seriously. But if I'm like, I'm not attacking you, well, it sure sounds like you are.
Yeah, right. This is not an attack. Yes, it is.
So I have to evaluate the other side of that. Is, am I coming off?
Right.
Because that's not a free pass for me. My intention is not to attack you, so it doesn't matter. I can say it any way I want to, because that's not my intention. No, but I have to evaluate too. Is what I'm doing coming off to her as an attack? But I think that's really helped. Now here's my side of that. Here's my side with my insecurities, and it sounds like the same thing, but it's really not. Okay. I sometimes take things, and then I will downsize myself. I'll hear, like, sometimes I struggle with critique, even when it's needed, because I go to, if you say, hey, when you did that, we said that to Isaiah, I think it really hurt his feelings. When I'm going to take on that emotion and I'm a horrible father. And so when she's saying something too, and then I take on that, like she's trying to tear me down.
Yeah.
And it really, I think this morphed out of the I'm not attacking you. She started going, look, babe, I'm not trying to tear you down. That's not what I do. I'm trying to point out a blind spot. Yeah. She may not use that terminology, but I'm trying to, so that you can continue, because you're a great father, and I want you to be a great father, and I want you to continue to be a great father. And even great fathers mess up. Yeah. And so, but that understanding that, look, when I said what I said, it wasn't meant to come off in a demeaning way. I wasn't trying to tear you down. Matter of fact, just trying to help. Yeah. And so I think realizing that intention and voicing it. Yes. Voicing it when necessary. Yeah. Look, when you see in your spouse that they feel like they're attacked or they're being demeaned, and this truly too, and if your spouse, and I'm not speaking from experience here because I wasn't abused, I mean, we've all had abusive speech, but if your spouse is someone who has been abused physically or sexually or even verbally, and
Right.
they've got a history of abuse, then that's something that you're going to have to both acknowledge that you're going to have to work through. That their go-to defense is going to be to to look at everything as an attack.
Yeah. Right.
And so you're going to have to work at as
Right.
patiently and gently walking out of that. And I think there's hope for the future. There's hope for the present because Jesus. And again,
Yes.
pray about everything. Pray about it. I'm a pastor, and sometimes I tell people that, and it's like, oh, that's what you got to say because you're a pastor. That's one thing I've learned that God means. I want you to talk to me about it. Talk to me about it going in. Talk to me about it during. Talk to me about it. Debrief with me. Have that conversation and invite me in. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, right? Don't trust your own understanding
Right.
and always acknowledge God and he will direct your path. So acknowledge God. Sometimes like, God, I need your help. Or God, I can't understand. Like
Yeah.
I will tell you, the person that I vent to the most about my wife is Jesus. Because one,
Yeah,
he
dude.
knows exactly where I'm coming
Good
from.
word.
He knows my heart, and he will also correct me.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, maybe even more often than I like to admit, the thing that's bothering me about my spouse really has more to do with what's going on inside Brad
Mm-hmm.
than what's going on in Tabby.
Brad, one of the things that I have learned in, I would say, in the last, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 years.
Mhm.
I think I've learned more about it like I was thinking maybe even 5, but no, I think it's 3 to 4. Specifically, like with having children, but I started to notice. No, I started to own the patterns of this. Um, you said that you're an empath, and
Mhm.
when you find out that you hurt somebody's feelings, you kind of take that and exaggerate it.
Mhm.
Um, my issue is dealing essentially with self-righteousness.
Mhm.
That man, like this is I'm right.
Yeah.
I've thought I'm the smartest guy in the room, and it's not because I've ventured into the world of having a doctorate. I mean, I've had that attitude for long, long, long time.
Yeah.
But like Shara will, she'll tell me, um, you know, I think you may have you went too far with Noah or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is like inside my natural tendency is to take that and to rebut it like internally. I may not necessarily do that like verbally, but I'll rebut it internally going, no, that needed to happen. Trust me.
Mhm.
I know how this is working. And like really kind of in my spirit, maybe not necessarily in a vocal prayer, though I have done plenty of that. But in my spirit, I will uh, pray to Christ and ask him like, God, will you help me
Mhm.
get rid of the fact that I have to be right?
Mhm.
Um, and what I've noticed is that over the last, again, 3 to 4 years, there have been moments where I can feel that the spirit is actually moving in a scenario where I absolutely would have gone overboard.
Mhm.
Um, but more often than not, I've almost begun to acknowledge its presence, that it's
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
and not just kind of accept that, well, that's part of my personality, deal with it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that that anything that you bring to the Lord, if you really honestly want to get rid of it, if
Mhm.
you really honestly want Christ to help you deal with it, then he's going to respond. Now, I think
I
that's
like your answer.
I think
He's going to
he's
respond.
going to respond.
Yes.
Now,
Is he going to take it? Maybe, maybe not. It
yeah,
depends on what you need.
yeah. And I also think that us as humans need to begin to understand that. So, Brad, you as an empath, me as I'll openly call myself a self-righteous bigot. How's that? Like I'll use some woke culture terms there.
Yeah.
Just a self-righteous guy, that I have to be willing to understand that I'm not going to wake up in the morning and all of that's going to be gone.
Right.
Like you were mentioning, if someone has actually has a history of abuse, they've got defense mechanisms that are going on that they're probably not even aware of.
Yeah.
And
that's the first step. Is becoming aware.
It's just becoming aware. It's right. And the world of cold turkey or bust. I mean, I really don't think that's something that
Rarely.
we should, I mean, I just don't think that that's something that we should expect. But nonetheless,
let me say this. I mean, this is crazy, but maybe there's somebody listening that needs to hear this. Okay. I know people's testimonies of people that from what I can see and from what I can hear, I would consider like solid Christians, right? Loving the Lord. They're going to heaven. Jesus has saved their soul. Some of their testimony is, for some of them, with former drug abuse, right? God set me free from that. When I got, he saved me, I surrendered to him. He set me free from it, and I was free. Like I've never desired it again. Other people, drug abuse history, they got saved. Listen, Brad, I can't go near that kind of thing because I struggle. It tempts me. It's a constant temptation.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I can't tell you, because I'm not God, why sometimes God goes, I kicked the switch. You never have to worry about that again. And other times he kicks the switch and says, you're just going to have to continue to say no. And I'm going to always give you a way out, because that's where God says, right. He doesn't say, I won't put on you more than you can bear. That's false. But he says, I will not let you be tempted in a way in which you can't escape.
That's exactly right. Yes. Like, that's the correct.
I'll always make you, I will always have you an escape route into that temptation, because that temptation is going to be your choice. And you're going to have to choose at some point. Do I take the escape ladder and get the heck out of here? Or do I go ahead into the temptation? But
that's right.
But both of those people, saved by Jesus Christ, they have the Holy Spirit. But there's a different scenario of how they're having to work through it. And why God does one or the other, I don't know, but I know he does it so intentionally, because he tells Paul, right? Paul doesn't tell us what his thorn in the flesh is. There's a lot of, but Paul, what Paul says is, I asked God to take it 3 times and God said no.
And God said no. Why?
Because my grace is sufficient.
That's right. Yeah.
And hey, guess what? The strength, your strength is going to be made, my strength through you, in you, is going to be made perfect in your weakness. So sometimes we need to be weak to be strong. Here's another thing, and I don't want to hog too much of the conversation, DJ. No, and good. I know it's almost a little off course, but one of the things that even just in the last few days, I've really owned a lot more about myself is I'm an A to B person. And when I know what B is, I want to be there. That's what B is for, right? Be there. So when I'm going from A to B, I want to be there. And so often I hate the journey.
Yeah.
But God so often is doing just as much, if not more, in the journey than and getting to the destination.
Yeah. And to kind of just to kind of wrap up the up here, I think to go full circle, if we lose sight, and this is like, I'm speaking from the depths of my heart when I say this, that if we lose sight of the fact that our journey is about either you or your spouse, then you are denying the fact that you are one with your spouse.
Yeah. together.
And yeah, like, yes, you're right, Brad, that we are different people, that my temptations are different than Shara's, that my experiences with sin and repentance and sanctification are different than with Shara's, but nonetheless, we are still one flesh.
Yeah.
And I'll wrap up with this. I firmly believe that if in fact you are one flesh, then both you and your spouse need to be vocal and need to be aware of what your shortcomings are.
Yeah.
Galatians 6:2 says, brothers, bear each other's burdens, therefore fulfilling the law of Christ. One of the things that I really want for our podcast, Brad, is to help people do that.
Yeah.
But really more than that, in the context of marriage, when you are ministering to your wife, or if you're ministering to your husband, I mean, like you're sharing in those burdens. That's part of what that scripture can be applied to. And in disagreements, in arguments, in lashing out of anger, if you are trying to deliberately overcome in terms of an authoritarian or dominant standpoint, you're not bearing anybody's burdens. As a matter of fact, you're shoving it down their throat.
Yeah.
So, dude, solid ep. It's a heavy ep. But
love your wife.
Love your husband. Wives,
yeah,
love your husband. But I would really encourage listeners. I would really encourage you guys. And I've just know that I've seen the benefits of this. I've lived the benefits of this. I've also lived enough of the opposite to know that there are far more benefits than not. But talk to one another. Be honest about what you're dealing with. Pain, temptation. What's Jesus doing in your life that's awesome, right? Like that kind of stuff.
What's Jesus doing in your life that ultimately is awesome but sucks right now? That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Like David got to say that he killed a bear and killed a lion, which is awesome, but he actually had to do it. Like he had I'm pretty sure that was not an exciting time, But listeners, Brad said something at the very end of our show last week, and I want to echo it. We love you guys. We are so grateful. We are encouraged that you guys are listening to the show. We love hanging out with each other. And Brad, seriously, man, every Thursday, I'm so excited to be able to sit down and share life with you. Yeah. But listeners, we thank you so much for listening to our show. Rate us, review us. Remember, we have a Gmail account, so email us with anything that you want. It's menchurchstuff, all one word, menchurchstuff@gmail.com. We are here for you guys. And listeners, we'll catch you next time.